All right, so we are joined from Nashville by the founder of Black Business Boom, Booming University, Danielle McGee. We thank you so much for joining us. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School for our entrepreneurship class. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you for taking some time for us today.
Absolutely. I'm super excited about this, Greg. My husband's from Jackson, so
Oh,
really
cool.
excited to be talking to you guys today.
Awesome. Well, I know you're originally from Chicago, but you did go to Central State University there in Ohio, HBCU. And then you went to St. Xavier there in Chicago, the Catholic school. So, just give us a little background about your education, because one thing I always think is interesting when I have somebody that has an HBCU and a PWI background. So, I would love to hear what both of those offer, because I think both of them offer great things when it comes to kids deciding what they want to do when they get done with high school.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. And I will give you a little background to even taking it before college to growing up on the south side of Chicago. And so I went to schools that were predominantly black my entire life. So that's what I was used to. And so there was always this excitement around going to an HBCU. Again, being on the south side of Chicago, you're surrounded by black people, black businesses, and I had such a great experience in going to a magnet elementary school and an amazing high school, Kenwood Academy on the south side of Chicago. So I just loved, my experiences growing up being in school and learned about HBCUs. So I was really excited about going to one. I explored several and at the very last minute got a scholarship to Central State University in Ohio, and it was a wonderful experience. So if you don't know about Central State, it's right in the middle of nowhere. So you really do have a really tight knit community. You don't have the option but to lean on each other because it's literally 5 miles to the nearest town. And outside of Central State University and Wilberforce University, which is right across the street, and also the HBCU, everything beyond that is not very diverse. So it was very interesting, kind of going from being in a city to being in the country, and being in the middle of cornfields. And then went back to Chicago right after I graduated. Was happy to be home and started my career in banking. And I decided that I wanted to go on and get my MBA. And I wanted to do that right there in Chicago. I can't remember how I learned about St. Xavier, but it felt like a really good fit. The fact that it was on the south side of the city and very accessible. So I was really excited to get accepted. They had a wide variety of options when it came to my concentration for my MBA. And so my concentration for my MBA was actually healthcare administration. I was able to get a certificate of managed care, but I also took some more entrepreneurial focused classes while I was there as well. And I think that was my first exposure to being in really diverse rooms because I went on, like I said, I went from all black elementary, all black high school, HBCU, moved back to the south side of Chicago, worked at a bank on the south side. Whole staff was black for the most part. And then going to St. Xavier that was very mixed, but it was a fantastic experience. And it started to open my eyes to other cultures, which I think is really important. You sometimes when you have this journey of only being around people who look like you don't have the experience of learning from other people and understanding and being able to be empathetic about other folks' journeys. And I think that really prepared me for my transition here to Nashville, that is a very diverse city. The neighborhoods here are really diverse. My neighborhood is not nearly predominantly black. So it prepared me to be able to be in rooms where everyone didn't look like me and still be comfortable and be able to hold conversations and understand others. So I think I got a lot from both institutions, and I love that I got the opportunity to experience both.
Yeah, and that's really cool. And just a quick little trivia: Wilberforce University is part of the newly branded HBCU Athletic Conference, and they play games against Tougaloo College here in Jackson.
I had
And
no idea. That's
I
good
got,
to
yeah, it
know.
was the first year they did it, and I actually got to referee in that conference. So I have a little small fractional connection to Wilberforce as well. So that's pretty cool. Now,
Fantastic.
obviously, you said you had a transition to Nashville. And you have been all over social media, all over, you've done all kind of podcast interviews, a lot of YouTubes where you've been a part of panels
Yeah,
speaking about the Black Business Boom, Booming University, where you guys have provided access and resources to Black entrepreneurs. So just talk about how that came about and how you turned a passion into a business.
absolutely. So I started my first business about 13 years ago. There were a lot of pain points. I experienced a lot of ups and downs. Long story short, ended up going into bankruptcy in 2015. So I decided that I wanted to take a lot of what I learned through my journey and pour into the Black business community. Originally, that started as a web and mobile app called Black Business Boom, where we offered over 400 coupons for Black-owned businesses in 25
Wow.
states. So it was and that was just in the first 4 months of us launching. So it blew up really quickly. And through that, I learned that there were other Black owned businesses that really were struggling in different ways, and that honestly, many of them were hustles, not businesses.
Yeah,
So
there you
I
go.
wanted to take all of these things that I learned having hustles, not businesses, and really turn them into lessons for other Black business owners. And that just became a true passion of mine as I discovered so much of a need for it. I've always had a passion for supporting Black owned businesses. I've launched several businesses to support Black owned businesses over the last 13 years in different ways. I had a business called Date Maker that was all about supporting Black couples getting out to support Black owned businesses and offering coupons. So it was another Groupon like platform I built. So I've always had this passion. And it finally hit, honestly, it was like it finally came together to something that was sustainable and fulfilling for me, but also tangible results for the small business owners. 2020 was really the catalyst for booming university. We saw 41% of Black owned businesses close their doors due to the pandemic. And that's just unacceptable to me. And I said, we have to make these business stronger. And that's when we fully launched Booming University. Since then, we've served well over 1,000 business owners through our programs, teaching them how to market their businesses, teaching them the financial aspects of being a business owner, providing them with free business coaching, free business classes, mentorship. It's just been an amazing journey. And I think once you identify what that passion is, if you keep on with it, right? Because again, this was not the first business I started with this passion in mind. This was the fourth business I started with this passion
Wow.
in mind. And so it finally paid off, And so with that, sometimes we have a passion for a certain thing. That doesn't mean that there's only one way to do it. So going from having two Groupon like platforms. I had two marketing agencies focused on Black owned businesses in different ways. I had a digital agency doing websites so this is actually my fifth organization or business
Wow.
around doing this. So I've tried different things and I've pivoted and I've let the people I'm serving dictate what the next move is for the next business or even within the same business. But it all has been true to what I'm passionate about and the people who I'm passionate about serving.
That's awesome because it all goes back to listening to your customer and serving the community. Now, something you mentioned, and I think is important. You talked about how you learn to communicate with different types of groups, and every entrepreneur, every employee has got to learn to do that. And I know they get sick of me saying this, but I say it all the time. You know, we do presentations in here once a month. I have them give presentations about different entrepreneurs, and we did a Black History one as well. But especially as we wind down Black History Month, it's so important to make sure, especially these young Black kids, when you walk in a room or you walk in front of a customer, you've got to nail it. You know, being able to walk in a room and introduce yourself, being able to sell your product, being able to sell yourself, being able to show why you're the best option. You know, I was talking with another guest earlier today, and an example I used, and I had a guest tell me this one time. She had written a book, and she went to the book fair, and all these authors were in this line with their books on their table, and a lot of them were just standing behind the table expecting people to come to them. And that's not the way business works. You've got to be ferocious because you can have a great concept, you can be a hard worker, you can be a great boss, but if you can't sell and get your message out there, all of it's for nothing.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was thinking about that this morning. I had a early morning meeting. I live about 45 minutes from Nashville, and I am not a morning person. That is one of my driving reasons for being an entrepreneur is that I like to sleep late. So I usually get my day started around 10 o'clock. But I had to be in Nashville this morning for a 9:30 meeting. And it was with a very important foundation that we're looking to get some funding to run additional programs, which, that transition from a true entrepreneur to a nonprofit founder is interesting as well. But I had to go into this meeting, although I went out to a concert last night, got in late, didn't get a whole lot of sleep, but I had to be ready this morning to pitch myself and to sell our organization, right? And so no matter what is going on around me, I have a friend in the hospital. I'm trying to get power of attorney for her. I'm dealing with all these other things, right? But your business doesn't care. Your business is still has to run, whether you aren't up to it, whether you don't feel it. You have to be ready to go into these rooms and confidently sell what it is you're doing. And the thing about it is that you're selling, even sometimes you don't know that you're selling. You don't know who you're in the room with all the time. Our first investor into our mobile app was sitting next to me at a dinner, and I would have never thought that this was the person that was going to write me a check for my business. I just showed up and was prepared to talk to
That's
whoever
awesome.
was in that room about what I'm trying to do. And he was the one that a couple weeks later sat at the table and wrote me a check for my dream. So it's not even always about a customer. It's being able to sell yourself to community, to investors, to funders, to partners. And you have to believe in it first. If you don't believe in it, you can't sell it to anybody else. If you aren't sure about your business, I'm not going to be sure about your business, and I'm not going to buy whatever it is that you're selling me.
Big time. Well, I do have some questions from the students, and I actually have all young men in here with me today. But
Oh,
I think this is
cool.
some great stuff and a lot of things we've talked about. So this first one is Terry Thompson. He's a senior, one of our football players here, and he asked, "What has been the biggest hardships in creating your business?"
I'm not going to speak to this specific business. I'm just going to speak in general because I've had so many of them. That I would say the biggest hardship it has been team and finding the right people to support me and my mission of whatever it is that I'm building. You can't do it alone. And many of us try to do it alone. And we think that, I mean, I see so many folks that are working full-time jobs and running businesses and still think they can do it alone. You can't do it alone, and you have to find the right people to support your mission. Sometimes that looks like employees, W-2 employees. Sometimes that looks like 1099 contractors. Sometimes that looks like on-demand support, like using platforms like Upwork and Fiverr. We are platinum on the Fiverr platform, where you're able to go and hire freelancers through that platform all over the country. We use it so much that we are like when they introduced levels, we were automatically platinum level, because I believe in using my time and resources wisely. And if there's something I can pay somebody $15 an hour to get done versus what I value my hour at, which is at least $100, $200 an hour, then I'd rather pay them the 15 and let them get it done so I can go make the 100 or 200. So I think once I understood the value in having support and having a team, then finding the right people has been a huge challenge. I think we finally got them, fingers crossed, but it's certainly been a journey.
And that's not always your family and friends. In fact, it rarely is your family and friends.
Very, very rarely.
But
I'll tell you,
especially since COVID,
yeah,
yeah, and especially since COVID, we've had more and more entrepreneurs that serve as entrepreneurs. So you
exactly.
mentioned that contract help. Like we have a friend of this class, and literally her entire business is doing accounting for Black-owned small businesses. So you're not paying her a full-time employee rate. You're paying her on a contract basis, and she can help you plan a lot of things. And there's other great entrepreneurs like that that are there to serve entrepreneurs.
Yes, fractional support is fantastic. I've had fractional COO, fractional CMO, you're like the fractional CFO. So, I work a lot with these folks that have these fractional roles where they do this for a few hours for a month, in the month for our organization, but they also do it for 10, 15 other
Yep.
clients. Everybody wins in that situation. I just wanted to touch on your point about it not being your family and friends, because when I first started Black Business Boom or had the idea, I got like four or five of my friends on a conference call. And I wanted them to be my partners in doing this. And I think everybody was like, Danielle's known to be bossy, so people listen to me and they're like, okay, we'll do it. But I could tell that their hearts were not in it like my heart was in it, and I had to quickly recognize that this is not my team. They can support me in other ways. I love them. It didn't affect our relationships in any way, but I knew I needed team, and so the easiest thing was to think, let me get the people closest to me to be a part of that team. But that's absolutely not what they were passionate about, or even what they had the skill sets to really support. So I think that's a really important point that you made, seeking out others outside of your network to be the supportive team that you need.
Big time. I like this one. This is Robert Branson. He's also a senior, one of our football players. And he asked, how much growth in yourself personally have you seen from becoming an entrepreneur?
Oh, it pushes you to your limits. So I've seen great growth in me as a person, a lot from the mindset perspective of what is possible. Many times we limit ourselves. We don't believe that we can be the next Uber, that we can be the next Airbnb, that we can build the next Amazon. We don't, especially as people of color, because we've not seen a lot of people before us to do those type of things. And so as I've grown, I mean, in our for profit, to have $1 million year, was something I never expected, honestly. Like, I was just like, when I quit my job in 2020 to go full time with this, I was just like, well, if we can make at least $120,000 a year, I can replace my salary. And I would have never thought 2 years later we would be $1 million company. But once we did it, and once I surrounded myself by other people who were doing it, it made me know, hold on now, if they can do it, I can certainly do it. And then I can go from 1 million to 5 or to 10, that's not necessarily what I'm trying to build right now, if I'm being honest. I'm very comfortable. But just being an entrepreneur, being in the right networks and the right rooms exposed me to so much that pushed me beyond the limits, because what you have to do to build $100,000 company is very different than what you have to do to build $1 million company, and the type of sacrifices that I've had to make. I moved from one apartment to another apartment, and it was not fancy, and it was just to save a few $100s so that I could put that in my business. So once you are really committed and in the grind and you surround yourself with the right people, and this week, like I said, this week I've been in Nashville. I don't have the luxury of saying I'm not a morning person. I can't be there. You have to do what you have to do. And that's I guess the fun thing about entrepreneurship, because I love the challenges and I love, pushing myself. But it can also be the downside as well. Like, the days where you lost the grant or you lost a sale, or business is down, or somebody quits unexpectedly, like those days, you almost want to give up, and then the next day you right back rolling. So the emotional roller coaster just really pushes you to a different level, and it makes you operate at a level that you didn't know that you could, honestly.
Big time. Well, I got time for two more. This is Shirai Luckett. He's in 10th grade. And he asked, when you were a little girl in the south side of Chicago, did you ever see yourself being here?
I did not. I had a conversation with my husband just yesterday while we were out walking our dog, and we were talking about wealth building, and we've done really well for ourselves, from a standpoint of investing and saving money and owning property. And I told him just yesterday, I could have never imagined this. I would have never. I not only thinking about my childhood on the South Side, I wouldn't imagine this 4 years ago. Like, I would have never
Wow.
imagined the level of freedom, the level of savings. Like, I would have never imagined that this would be my life, that I could wake up when I get ready to, that I can say I don't take beatings at certain times. Like, and that's why I want other people to understand, like, the importance of imagining, right? Like, and because when you can imagine it, then it can push you. And but again, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, because I've always wanted freedom and I've always liked making money. But I would never ever, I mean, I've surpassed any of my wildest dreams, honestly.
Love it. Well, I got one more. This is Jaden Latiker. He's a senior. And he asked, what was the process for you to figure out that this is a type of business concept you wanted to have?
It was kind of a trial and error, honestly. We tried one thing, it kind of worked, but the market was asking for something else, and it didn't feel sustainable, didn't feel like we could grow it and scale it the way we wanted to. So then we tried something else, and that kind of worked, but like it's been a process of like, let's try something else. Like, maybe it worked a little bit, but it's not the thing. And so it took years of, let's try this, let's go another direction, let's improve on this, let's remove that, to get to the point where it was like, okay, these classes are really working. People are really liking what we're doing. They're really getting something from it, and we're getting money to do it like that. So I feel like it took a while to get to where it fit, but it finally just, and it was like a aha of, this is it. This is just go all in with this. I was still trying several other things and trying to manage several other pieces of the business. And then it was like, just shut all that down and do what is working. But you can't be scared to try, and you can't be scared to pivot when it doesn't work the way that you think it was going to work, because we all have very big ideas, and sometimes it just doesn't work out the way we expect it to, and you just got to go in another direction.
Man, tell me about it. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple things before we go. First of all, Blackbusinessboom.com, Booming University. Where can we find it online? Great resources there.
Absolutely. So blackbusinessboom.com. We are Black Business Boom across all of social media, especially Instagram and Facebook is where you can find us the most, as well as LinkedIn. If you want to follow me and connect with me, LinkedIn, I'm Danielle McGee, MBA, on LinkedIn. I love connecting with new folks and just follow us. We offer free programs all the time for business owners across the country. And yeah, just go ahead and follow us and connect with us and keep an eye out for what we have coming up next.
Yeah, 59,000 followers on Instagram. I'm looking at it right now. So really a big presence there. So I encourage anybody, you guys got gems all the time. You're dropping Black Business Boom on Instagram. That's one word. I encourage everybody that's here with me now to follow as well. But the last thing before we go, like I mentioned, we have all young men in here with me today. And as we wrap up Black History Month, it's just so important for them, not only them, but for everybody to understand, right now you see all the headlines. We have too many young black men we're losing on the streets of Nashville, the streets of Jackson. People getting in with the wrong people, people making bad decisions. But there's never been a better time. There's never been more resources. There's never been more access for these kids to really break the trend, break the stigma to become successful. And why is it? Whether these kids decide to go to college or not, because I know I've got them in here with me. Some said they want to, some said they don't. That's fine. We support all of them. However, we need all of them to be successful. We need more successful black men in our community. And why is it that we need more of these young black men to step up and be successful?
Because they truly can lead our communities and create jobs. And we need leadership right now. I mean, there's very much a kind of glaring look at the fact that there's a lack of leadership in Black communities. We need Black men to step up and be those leaders in whatever lane that may be. I just want to add, I mentioned earlier, my husband is from Jackson, went to Terry High School, grew up in Brook Hollow. And so he's lost friends, and he got out of Jackson and created his own path. He's now been at his job for over 20 years, coming up on 21 years next month. He's also
Wow.
a successful entrepreneur. He has a nutrition business. He found
That's
something
awesome.
that he loved and he built that into a business, but he's also an engineer and making money doing that. And so you
Wow.
really have the opportunity to create your own destiny. And sometimes that really does require you to step outside of your neighborhood, outside of your community, outside of your family, and create your own path. And it again, I've seen him do it against all odds, against all type of odds. I would love to connect him with you to be a guest, because
Oh yeah.
he can really connect with the young men, and tell you more about the challenges that he had growing up and how he was able to overcome all of them and become successful. So I just want them to know that it's possible, and that doesn't always mean going to school. I probably wouldn't have a MBA or a bachelor's degree if I could have just gone to an entrepreneurial class. They didn't have those when I was growing up. So follow whatever you feel like your destiny and your path is, and use all of the resources, YouTube University, whatever you got to do, to make that dream come true.
Well, next time you guys come back to town, we'd love to have you on campus. It'd be a amazing guest.
Absolutely. Yes,
Uh,
that
but
would
I,
be fantastic.
but thanks for fitting us in your busy schedule. Black Business Boom, Booming University, Danielle McGee. We thank you so much for joining us all the way from Nashville today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Greg. I think what you're doing is amazing.
Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
All righty. Bye bye.
See ya.